for Joe Biden. Joe Biden won New York with 85% of the vote. It's hard to find a more blue district with a more Democrat judge who donated to Joe Biden. He should recuse himself. His daughter does campaign fundraising for people who want to put Donald Trump in prison. She's raised hundreds of millions of dollars to put Trump in jail.
Benny Johnson is back on Piers Morgan, where he debates the woke streamer Destiny. Once again, last time it got very, very heated on Piers Morgan between Benny Johnson and Destiny. In round two, gets just as heated, if not more heated, between the two. They talk about stuff like Donald Trump and a lot of other things within U.S. politics and geopolitics that get very, very heated whenever the left and the right are discussing. I think Benny Johnson did a great job at dismantling everything that Destiny had to say. Let's check out these clips here from Piers Morgan between Benny Johnson and Destiny in this very, very heated debate.
Lawsuits, celebrities deal with them all the time, but I think we're missing the greater overall point here, which is that the judge here, Judge Merchan, is a Democrat activist. He helped fund Joe Biden's election campaign in New York, which went for Joe Biden. The jury pool being pulled from New York went for Joe Biden. I just looked it up. 85 points for Joe Biden. Joe Biden won New York with 85% of the vote. It's hard to find a more blue district with a more Democrat judge who donated to Joe Biden. He should recuse himself. His daughter does campaign fundraising for people who want to put Donald Trump in prison. She's raised hundreds of millions of dollars to put Trump in jail. Her social media avatar.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Avatar is a picture of Donald Trump in jail, a Photoshop. So my question to Destiny,
we know that story was fake, right? That was a
my question to Destiny is this. My question to Destiny is this. Oh, so wait, hold on. So his daughter doesn't take campaign contributions to put Donald Trump in prison, yes or no?
That particular Twitter account that you referenced and the activity on it?
Does his daughter?
I'm going to answer a random question. I'm responding to what you just said was fake news.
It's not random.
Trump fell for a fake story that pushed by Laura Loomer. No, that's not a fact. Go look it up. You can Google it.
These are facts. So is the judge a Joe Biden donor?
I don't know, and I don't care if the judge is a Joe Biden donor. But the Twitter account that you referenced is not the Twitter account of his.
You don't care?
The Twitter account. I don't think that somebody being supportive. Hold on. Do you think
it's very convenient, right? How the left just, streamers like Destiny and Hassan, and I know that they're not. I'm not trying to lump them in together. I know that Hassan's way worse than Destiny is, but it's leftist nonetheless. It's the woke cult nonetheless, and it's crazy how whenever something that doesn't go their way, they just randomly don't care about it. We see this with people like Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg too. All of a sudden, they start to care about certain things whenever they can spin it in a way that helps their point of view. For example, Whoopi Goldberg will start to use like Christianity against the right wing sometimes, randomly, whenever, the Bible's words just happen to align with what her views are in that very point, in that very moment, that point in time. Same thing goes with Destiny. He'll care about things whenever it goes along with his point. But whenever Benny Johnson is bringing up a point that doesn't go along with Destiny's point of view, with his propaganda, he all of a sudden just doesn't care anymore.
Do you think the standard should be that every single judge that's donated to any politician must recuse themselves in every single criminal trial relating to
hang on, let me answer that.
What's the standard there?
This is Destiny, you've actually hit on the real problem with this. This is why I don't think any American president should ever go through a prosecution of this kind. Because the answer obviously is, yes, of course this judge is not impartial. Of course he's going to have a view against Trump. Of course it will affect all his decision-making. He's a paid-up Democrat. So that's the problem. Let me come to Dave Smith here. Dave,
sure.
You're neither left nor right. You kind of sit in the middle as a...
What do you guys think? Do you think that any judge that's ever donated to a politician should be recused or should recuse themselves? And if they don't, they maybe should be criminally charged or something? Like if it's found out afterwards that they did that, and they donated to, a Democrat or a Republican, do you think that if any judge who's ever donated to one side should not be able to be the judge for cases like this? I think it's kind of an easy answer. I like the answer that Piers Morgan gave, but I think the answer is yeah. I mean, shouldn't it be obviously yes? Like, wouldn't that make them at least have the potential to be extremely biased unless they are very professional, which I would hope that judges are, but you never know nowadays. These things are so hyper polarized between left and right, between Democrat, Republican, conservative, and liberal. Like, these discussions that Piers Morgan has on his show between Benny Johnson and Destiny are a perfect example of it. They get very heated over and over again every time they go on Piers Morgan. You would like to think that judges could be professional enough to not be biased, but I don't trust that nowadays. Because of how hyperpolarized everything has become in the political landscape, I don't trust that they wouldn't be biased. I think they would be biased, and I don't think there's a reason to take the chance. Just go find a different judge. And then Benny Johnson goes on to set Destiny up with a great hypothetical, and Destiny just completely, in my opinion, lies in order to make his own point. Let's check this out.
For Joe Biden yesterday at an actual presidential event, and this was in Florida, and I think it's has a lot of chutzpah to go to Florida and think you can flip this state. This state went for Trump twice, but I guess this is my question to Destiny: is this state in Florida is a place where the Biden family had a lot of business, a lot of corrupt business in this state. The DOJ, the FBI looked into the Biden business practices in this state. They've had to pay big penalties. Would you be in favor of a district in this state that voted for Donald Trump, 85 points for Donald Trump, and a judge that donated to Donald Trump and whose kids are in the business of locking up Joe Biden? Would you be in favor of Joe Biden being brought to trial for bookkeeping in a county like that? You would be okay?
Of course not. Destiny wouldn't be okay with this hypothetical that Benny Johnson's bringing up, and every other leftist wouldn't be okay with it. They would be melting down. Imagine the scenes on The View with Whoopi Goldberg and all of them if that were to happen. Of course, they would be calling the trial rigged and everything like that. Everything that the right is saying, and rightfully so. The left would obviously take it to a new level, and they would probably end up getting their way, because it seems like they always do in situations like that, because they are so loud whenever they cry about stuff. But imagine the scenes on Bill Maher, on Real Time with Bill Maher, on Piers Morgan, on The View. Everybody would be, just screaming at the rooftops, from the rooftops, that this is a rigged trial, and they would probably end up getting their way. Let's check out what Destiny has to say to Benny Johnson here, though.
Okay with it, because you just said this doesn't matter, so you'd be all right with that scenario.
Unless the judge themselves have made specific comments about the candidate themselves that somebody can show me and you can see a clear bias, then no, I wouldn't have a judge recuse themselves there. The idea that we cannot trust our state, district, our federal judges to do the jobs that we entrust them to do, that we think that they can't give an impartial trial to somebody because they were an ex-president, well, then why should we have any faith in our justice system delivering fair trials to anybody at all? What about a black person? What about a woman? What about a trans person? What if they know you're a registered Republican? What if they know that you voted for Trump? What if they know that you supported Bernie Sanders? No, we should be.
I understand the point that Destiny is making there. I do. There's somewhat logic built in there with him saying, well, if we can't trust, the slippery slope argument, if we can't trust a Democratic judge to judge a Republican candidate properly or, justly, then what makes us be able to trust anybody? What if there's a judge that has a bias against short people or tall people or black people or white people? I understand the point that he's making, but it's very, very hard to tell if a judge has a bias against short people or tall people or black people or any sort of minority group or something. And it's very easy to see that this judge donated to Democrats over and over again. This judge has children whose profile picture on social media, whether it's fake or not, I'm not 100% sure on that. That's something that Benny Johnson brought up here. But if that's true, that the judge's daughter has a picture of Donald Trump in jail as her profile picture, I mean, come on, dude. It doesn't get much more obvious than that. If we want a true, fair, and just trial, why not find someone who 100% isn't biased? And it's very easy to tell this sort of bias, because the judges who are biased against short people or tall people, they're probably not donating to tall people organizations who are trying to go against the short people. They're probably just in their head, they're short, so they don't like tall people, or they're tall, so they don't like short people. I don't know. But in situations like this, you can easily tell, oh, this person donates to Democrats, and their children are obviously being brainwashed by them to hate Donald Trump because their profile picture is Donald Trump in jail, and so many other reasons. But it's very easy to tell. So why not just go get someone who is 100% unbiased for a fact?
Be able to entrust that our justice system will deliver fair results going through the processes that they go through. If somebody's made a particular comment about Trump or Biden, I would hope they would recuse themselves in that case. But if they haven't, and they just tend to support a particular political party, then we would hope that their allegiance to upholding justice in the United States is true. And also this idea that you can walk on a college campus and figure out who's going to win the presidency. If that was true, then the last election would have been Bernie Sanders versus Andrew Yang. Since when do we go to college campuses to determine the overall popularity of a presidential candidate?
Okay.
You see how polarized polarized the left and right can be, right? And how much your emotions can influence the information that you get in the echo chambers that you can exist in. And this is where Ground News comes in. Ground News gathers related articles from more than 50,000 sources around the world in one place, so you can compare how different outlets cover the same story. Ground News was created by a former NASA employee to empower readers to navigate our complex media landscape. Ground News also gives you context about the source of the information itself, if they have a political bias, how reliable their reporting practices are, and who owns them. And they're all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. So that allows you to even see if a story is being disproportionately covered by one side, which would really have been helpful during the 2020 elections when it comes to a certain laptop. Just take a look at this story on Ground News about Fani Willis and the inconsistencies that were discovered by the Department of Justice. You can see if you scroll down a little bit that this story was covered by over 10 sources, and 0 left-leaning sources covered this story. And I wonder why that would be, because this story obviously makes the left look bad. It makes the indictment on Trump, it makes the whole case against Donald Trump look bad. So obviously the left-leaning sources aren't going to cover this story. And Ground News just kind of brings them all together and shows you the bias. You can see over here, every single article will show you the bias distribution. 90% of the sources lean right on this one because there's only one center-leaning source that covered it and 0 left-leaning sources. And it will show you this for every single article, so you know the bias around certain topics and around certain articles that are being written. In today's society, where everyone calls themselves a journalist and propaganda moves faster than the speed of light, Ground News becomes a solution to this problem, which is why I am glad to take them on as a sponsor and share their website with you. So if getting accurate information is just as important to you as it is to me, go ahead and go over to ground.news/reloaded or scan the QR code to give it a try. If you sign up through my link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use to get unlimited access to all features on Ground News. I think Ground News is doing important work, and I really, really hope that you'll check them out. And then Piers Morgan, who is definitely not a conservative at all, he's not even American, tries to bring up the fact that Joe Biden is obviously mentally impaired. The guy is not right mentally. He's just not. And of course, Destiny is saying that Joe Biden is one of the best presidents of all time and that he should 100% win the next election against Donald Trump in a landslide, even without the trials or anything like that, because of how great of a president Joe Biden is. Obviously, Benny Johnson doesn't agree with Destiny there, but neither does Piers Morgan. So let's check out this clip here of Piers Morgan trying to convince Destiny that Joe Biden's not the greatest president ever. He's one of the worst, if not the worst.
Laugh, although it's a kind of, again, a serious point to it. This is Joe Biden claiming his uncle had been eaten by cannibals.
And my uncle, they called him Ambrose Brosey, they called him Bosey, my Uncle Bosey. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes. And he got shot down in New Guinea. And they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Now, there were 2 problems with this, Benny. The Pentagon dug into this, and it was confirmed that the plane was not shot down. It actually had technical failure, which led to it crashing into the ocean, which is almost certainly where Uncle Bosey died. But there's certainly 0 evidence he was ever eaten by any cannibals. And in fact, the leaders of Papua New Guinea now have been outraged by this categorization of their people as a bunch of cannibals.
Yes, that's exactly right. So 2 things that trend perfectly for Joe Biden here that is followed him effectively his entire career, and he's built his career off of. 1, lying. Joe Biden has lied multiple times, had to drop out of presidential campaigns because he lied. And 2, Joe Biden has a very, very dark and very warped view of minorities. Joe Biden obviously wrote the 1990s crime bill that disproportionately locked up hundreds of thousands of young black men for having a scintilla of crack cocaine on their persons, whereby his own son had mountains of crack cocaine on him and has yet to face any type of prosecution for that. I'm very interested in hearing Destiny's take on this. But Joe Biden has always tracked along these lines. Joe Biden is the same guy that, according to his own stories, went and kicked Corn Pop out of the pool because he had too much pomade in his hair and was willing to fight Corn Pop with a rusty razor blade and a chain. Corn Pop was a young black man. Joe Biden is a racist. He says you cannot vote, you cannot be black if you vote for Donald Trump. And it's this type of conversation and these types of policies that are leading to, as Dave just alluded to, the largest support for any Republican in my lifetime among minority communities. That is a fact.
Okay, Destiny, I mean, the trouble with the cannibals thing is that so much of what Biden says from his memory turns out to...
Look at Destiny's face right now. He's just like, he's fuming, bro. He's like, dude, I can only defend this guy so much. Like, how am I supposed to defend this leftist, this woke president whenever he does this every single time he speaks? He says some stupid stuff. Like recently we had where he said 4 more years, and then he was reading off the teleprompter. He said 4 more years, pause. That's probably the greatest one of all of them, because then we can make the jokes of like, what if he just saw some gay stuff happening in the audience and he just wanted to make sure everybody knows he's not with that or something, you know? That was probably like the greatest mistake of all of them, because it's actually hilarious. Like that's one of the funniest ones. And it's just every single time the guy speaks and reads off a teleprompter, he's saying some ridiculous stuff that never happened, or saying stuff like pause, that are, you know, obviously popping up on the teleprompter telling him to pause. But let's see how Destiny finagles his way, squirms his way into defending Joe Biden here. I'm sure he'll find a way to go against what Benny Johnson said, even though everybody out there with common sense knows that Benny Johnson's right here.
To be completely untrue. I'm not suggesting he deliberately lies. He just constantly seems to forget key parts of his life, and then they don't even apologize. I mean, the White House press secretary was given the chance to apologize by Fox News, by Peter Doocy, and refused.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think Joe Biden's capable of lying. I think Joe Biden is just told what to say and what not to say, and then a lot of those things that he's told what to say happen to be lies.
To do so. Would it not be right for the White House to just, when they get things wrong like this, just to say we're sorry? The president spoke wrong.
He said the plane crashed in the water. Okay, who says cannibals can't swim? All right, we don't know that. Listen, I understand the spectacle.
Little bit of a stretch, Destiny.
But hey, maybe. Listen, I don't know what they're like down there. Okay, listen, I've never been to New Guinea before. Okay. Listen, there's always the gaffes and there's everything that's fun to talk about. But it says something that every time Trump makes a gaffe, I hear this repeated over and over again. We are not supposed to take Trump literally. We're supposed to take him seriously. When Trump says there's an invisible plane, he didn't actually mean that. When Trump was like on stage, you know, pondering about the injection of disinfectant into your lungs, well, he wasn't serious. Well, when Trump talks about cyber, you know, he's just like speaking metaphorically. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, like, Biden is a gaffe machine. George W. Bush was a gaffe machine, and he couldn't even blame senility on that. I agree that his speaking stuff is a problem. I definitely think that his memory has issues, but I'm more concerned with Trump, like on TV, you know, telling the DOJ that they should be jailing political opponents. You know, I'm more concerned with the fact that Trump, who's not even in office, you know, we were just talking about immigration, which is a real issue.
You're more concerned with Trump telling the DOJ that they should jail political opponents whenever Joe Biden is literally doing that. He's not telling them. He is literally trying to do that with his actions. He is doing it. That's wild.
Literally communicating to people in the House like, hey, don't vote on immigration bills. I want to keep the border open so that when I run for president, I can point to that problem existing. The fact that Republicans were unwilling to actually come together and work on what was an amazing border reform bill, something that would have increased the amount of asylum judges, something that would have decreased the amount of people that could just come to the border and claim asylum. Like these things would have been amazing. You know, Dave Smith talks about a de facto open borders policy. The de facto open borders policy is not de facto. It's de jure. It's by letter of the law. If somebody comes to the U.S. and they say, hey, I'm claiming asylum, well, you're kind of, you know, SOL. You're okay, well, I guess we've got to put you in the U.S. now and we have to process you because that's the policy on the books. And Republicans were the ones that stood in the way of actually changing that policy in the House because they didn't want to lose their one issue that they could hopefully artificially continue to.
Look, Destiny, there may be some truth to the things that Destiny is saying right here. That has nothing to do with the questions that were asked. He has no way to defend Joe Biden. He basically just laughed at Joe Biden along with Benny Johnson and along with Piers Morgan and said, yes, he's a gaffe machine. So was George Bush. So was Donald Trump. So what? And it's like, dude, the gaffes are completely different between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden's gaffes are him not being there mentally at all. He is supposed to be the president of the United States. That's not okay. I don't understand. I don't care what you say. You cannot justify that being okay. Donald Trump may have said some silly stuff in the past. I'm sure literally every single human, if their entire life was documented, has said some really, really silly stuff in the past. I'm sure Benny Johnson, Piers Morgan, Destiny, Dave Smith have all said dumb stuff in the past that would be laughed at today. 100% they have. The difference is they are not losing their minds and they can read off a teleprompter and not fall down while walking upstairs. That's the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And there is no defense that even woke Destiny could have for Joe Biden in this instance. And it's even people like Piers Morgan are turning against the left on this, man. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about round 2 between Benny Johnson and Destiny. It did get pretty heated, especially in the beginning. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Did Benny Johnson win? Did Destiny win? Let me know what you're thinking about this Piers Morgan episode. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hope to see you guys on the next one. If you enjoy content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.